Welcome everyone to another episode of the Pierce Brothers. We're today gathered here for another campfire episode, and today we're going to be discussing home defense guns and the importance of home defense, I guess, and how we store our guns, where we store our guns, why we do it that way, and I guess what ammo we use and why we use that ammo. So we'll start with Jake on the end. We'll work this way.
So home defense is pretty self-explanatory why it's important. Like, you want to protect your property, your life, your family's property and lives. So, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Some people don't understand that concept, you know, but yeah, to me that's pretty self-explanatory. Gun-wise, I'll start with handguns because that's normally when I, every night when I go to bed, I always have my Browning high power right next to me. This is the SFS version, so I basically have it loaded around in the chamber and hammered down just like that. That's all I gotta do, pick it up, take the safety off, and that cocks it, you know. So it's basically a single action, but safer, you know, in that regard. See, I have this right literally within like a foot of my arm, and same with the Surefire flashlight. So this gun, the high power, and most 1911s don't have a rail for a light. In my opinion, a light's a must. So I do go out and practice shooting with you know, the different styles with the light, so you can ID whatever intruder is in your house, you know. So that's the big importance of a light. You don't want to shoot somebody accidentally that's you know,
the in-laws that really dropped their gun down.
yeah,
well,
you know?
Exactly, and I think that's
there goes the mother-in-law.
I think that's a concept a lot of people miss on a defensive gun, is having a light on there for target identification, because like Jake said, you know, you don't want to have a relative or a friend coming into the house and you suddenly getting awoke from a deep slumber.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, I have my Surefire light. It's optimal to have a rail and have the light attached to the gun, because for most people it's easier. But if you don't have that option on your handgun, train with a good light, shooting your handgun with the light in your other hand, you know. So another handgun, I usually have this one within 2 feet of reach. So and it's my Remington UMC commemorative 1911. So it's one of the most reliable 1911s I've ever owned. Very good gun. So again, no light, but yeah. So that's why I got the light right next to me, you know. So my wife, of course, has her own guns next to her. So she's got a Glock 43 and a Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm. So she usually has one of those in her purse, and then in her purse is somewhere. She never seems to know where her purse is, but her M&P is always right next to the bed. So rifle wise, oh, and another thing, when I wake up every morning and when I'm leaving, a gun comes with me, and then the other stuff always goes back in my safe. It's just part of my morning routine, you know. So it's not like I'm just leaving my stuff laying out when I'm not at the house. So, and then part of my bedtime routine is always taking the stuff back out and putting right next to the bed. So rifle wise, this is not ideal for clearing a house, but it's my BAR and 30-06. So if you need more firepower, let's say you're getting like a home invasion, which has been happening more recently in recent years, especially in the
people.
You can shoot through the bedroom door and get like 3 of them with one shot.
Well, and it's like, well, sometimes we're seeing the number of intruders instead of just like a lone burglar. It's actual home invasions of a group of people, and handguns just don't cut it in a lot of scenarios nowadays. So if you need more firepower, it's nice having a rifle, and there's not many rifles out there that have more firepower than a BAR. So yeah, it's hard to argue with the 30-06. So yeah.
Yep.
Durability wise, I mean, this gun's heavy, but it's still very manageable. I took the screwed off that, so it shortens it up. The muzzle device, flash hider, whatever you want to call it, I took that off, so less overall length. I usually have like 7 mags loaded, so within pretty easy reach. Yeah, so.
Something we forgot to mention is our location today. We're out here by the Payette River, kind of by New Plymouth, Idaho area. No campfire because there is a burn ban in effect. There's a lot of fires going on around, and it's pretty dry in August over here. So,
something else I was going to mention is I don't have the biggest firearms collection, and some of the stuff I've got, like the BAR or like the high power 1911. Some people consider kind of antiquated by today's standards, you know, like mini 14s and ARs. You can throw lights and optics and all that stuff on there. But use what you got, you know. Use what you got to defend yourself. So, but yeah, like I was saying, the BAR, when it was going through the, it was like the first prototype model that the military was testing. They fired 20,000 rounds through it in 4 hours and 15 minutes. I don't know of an AK or an AR on the market that could go through that type of abuse and still be running, you know? So very durable, reliable guns. They're just a little antiquated because they're heavy. Yeah,
they're heavy.
Yeah, so.
And yet Jake goes and hikes around the mountains with his BAR.
Yeah.
It's like his workout for the day.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do need to update my arsenal. I know that. I'll get around to it here soon. But yeah, that's what I got.
All right, Port.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of old school, like Jake, and I guess everyone else, except for Joe.
Except for me.
Except for Joe. Normally, like in my truck, my work rig, I have my Ruger GP100 loaded up with XTPs, usually 158 grain Hornady XTPs. That's just always in my work truck. It's right in the door jam, so it's easy to grab. I have a couple of speed loaders that I carry with it. But yeah, it's always with me in the work truck. And then in the house, I usually have my CZ75 close by. Those are kind of my 2 primary handguns that I like to use and just have always loaded up and ready to go. They're easy to use. My wife can use it if need be. They're very, there's not a lot of stuff going on with them. Same thing with, like, I have my Mini 14 here. Very simple, you know, you just rack it, you're ready to go. My wife, she doesn't shoot guns very often. I mean, often enough, but it's not like she's out shooting them every day. And so she's like, if she picks up an AR, she gets a little bit intimidated by it, and so she doesn't, you know how wives can be. Not only that, I really like the Mini 14.
It's a statement of the year.
How wives can be. It's like Jake. Doesn't know where her purse is, but it's got a gun in it. You know. But
I wonder how many will be on the doghouse by the end of this video.
But Mini 14, very fast watching.
Yeah.
Very fast handling. Very sleek in design, so there's not a whole lot to snag on anything. Short and compact enough to still be able to clear a room if you need to, or reach out a little ways even with iron sights. It's just a very, very good gun to use.
And they're ultra reliable.
Yeah, they don't break. I mean, knock on wood, but they just don't break.
I think we
don't
said
have to
this
hardly
before,
ever.
but yeah, I mean, you put 5,000 rounds through that over a 12-year span with never cleaning it.
Yeah,
and
never even
had a
oiled
malfunction.
it, you know. And so, I mean, it's very, very like useful that way, you know. Durable, useful,
Low maintenance.
low maintenance. Not going to just break something just because it wants to break. But yeah, that's kind of my go-to 3 guns. I always have a shotgun as well at the front door, loaded and ready. So I mean, I got guns kind of stashed around the place. I'm living in a 5th wheel trailer right now, so I'm kind of white trash. But I got guns stashed around in it, and
well, at least got your hair cut off, so you're not as much of white trash.
Right?
Yeah, Fort had to go cut his hair.
Well, it was getting a little warm for my summer days of working, so I thought I better get it trimmed up a little bit. But I said a trim, and they just lopped off like everything, so I guess I'll have to regrow it.
Yeah, Samson has lost his superpower.
Yeah, I know. But those are my 3 favorite guns, just for the ease of use and reliability. So.
All right, Will.
So I guess it's me now. Where I keep my guns, I don't disclose, because realistically, if someone breaks into your house, the only people that should know where all your guns and stuff are would be friends, close family members, all that jazz. But with me, I'd always go for my Shockwave. I've talked about this gun before, 20 gauge shotgun. Great option for turning a house invader into hamburger meat. But yeah, put either buckshot, slugs, whatever you want. They're very versatile. Plus, the nice thing about this, if it is a home invasion situation, like realistically, if you go around the corner of the rifle, it's easier for them to grab the barrel and like control where you put your gun. Whereas a smaller gun such as this or a pistol, it's hard for them to actually like take control of your weapon. So realistically, in a combat situation, it is better to have in close quarters like that. I think it is better to have a shorter or smaller gun. Realistically, if it is a home invasion situation, you don't always have the chances to get to your weapons. So if I'm in a designated area, you might have to like grab whatever else you have laying around, use that to defend yourself until you can get to it, or if you even can get to it. So realistically, you have to take a trophy off the wall and stab him in the eye with that. You'd have to do that if you're in the kitchen.
Baseball bat.
Yeah. If you're in the kitchen, use a frying pan and club them over the head or chuck that at them. TV room, use a remote, whatever you got laying around, just grab what you can, defend yourself, because it's like, at the end of the day, it's a full-on brawl situation, and you can't exactly rely on the situations you have to go into effect correctly. So adapt, overcome, change, plan. So yeah, be as brutal as possible, because realistically it's your life or theirs. So yeah, that's about all I have to say. So
yep. So I guess for me, importance of home defense to me is that my family, my kids are all in the house. I've got young kids, so that's the ultimate reason of home defense for me, is to defend the kids and keep them safe. And anyway, so that's the importance to me. And how I store my guns, so I guess I'll go through what guns and how I store them and where they're at, because having small kids, it's important to keep those guns in a location or stored in a way that the kids can't get to them. On that note though, it's also important to train your kids and teach them about guns, because that will help remove that curiosity factor for them. So all of my kids, I let them look at my guns, they see my guns, I let them practice running the slides and things of that nature, so that they're comfortable and familiar with guns, and they don't have the curiosity to want to get my guns. But that being said, I still keep them in a place where they have to have my help to get to them. So most of my guns are stored in my safe, but my home defense guns are out where I can access them easily. We'll start with the handgun. I have the SIG P365 Legion. This is the newer model of this 365 that came out early this year, late last year. I think it was announced late last year and it came out early this year, but it's a compact size handgun with a full size gun capacity, which is great. So I can concealed carry this through the day, and then when I get home I put a TLR7 light on it, and then it mounts up on my wall above my bed. So it's pretty high and to the left of my bed, so you'd have to be a pretty tall person to grab it. So I'm 6'4", and the kids could never reach it where it's at. I don't even think my wife could reach it, so but she can reach the other guns though. But that's like if I'm sleeping, that's my quick grab gun that's ready to go. And I have a magnetic mount on the wall for that. I'll throw a picture in the overlay, but I also have the Bravo company there near that, and this is hanging on the wall on a Save Your Equipment rifle rack. Again, really high up so the kids can't reach it. And I keep the magazine, as you saw in the picture, right next to the 365. So I grab the magazine, I grab the rifle, I get it loaded. But I have loaded in the this is the Bravo company Recce 14, so it's a little bit shorter rifle length, but it's still a full 16-inch with the muzzle device. This is straight from the factory how it comes. I've got an EOTech red dot on there. I have a Streamlight ProTac light, and then some Magpul flip-up sights. I use a Hornady 75 grain HD SBR bullet. That's designed for shorter barreled AR-15s, but with that bullet, Hornady designed it to have significantly less muzzle blast. So that is a great home defense round, in my opinion, for a short barreled AR all the way up to a rifle length AR, because you have that reduction in muzzle blast, and yet it's still a great bullet for defense. But both of these, I guess this one is the other AR. This one's out in the living room. I have 2 magazines by it as well, and it's also on a Save Your Equipment rifle rack. This is a Primary Weapon Systems based out of Boise, Idaho. They're Mark 111. Both of these rifles, though, are set up the exact same. They've got a Streamlight ProTac light with the pressure switch in the same spot. So they both have a magnifier with the red dot. So all the controls are identical between the two, whether it's the light and the optic system. So I don't have to relearn different techniques for either gun. They're both identical in how they're set up. Same ammo, they're sighted in for the same ammo. So it doesn't matter if I'm in the bedroom or if I'm in the living room, I can grab either of those and they're ready to go in that manner. And then I have 2 magazines out in the living room by the PWS. If I'm in the dining room, I have a Tomahawk display up on the wall, and so I have 3 different Tomahawks to choose from to get to my rifle that's only like 5 feet away from that. But you got to have a weapon ready, you know, in case they beat you to the rifle. So, but this is the half-face blades Howler Hawk. Pretty awesome. Then I've got a one of their Viking operator hawks, and then a Bleeding Heart Hawk. I've got a Crescent Hawk. I've got a few different hawks from Half Face Blades, but those are pretty premium Tomahawks if you're looking for a good Tomahawk for home defense or any general purpose use, whether it's outdoors or a backpack Tomahawk. I got one of those too. So, but yeah, that's kind of my methods of how I do what I do, and the reason for home defense. And I have the weapons staged though in different parts of the house because you never know where you'll be in an attack. So being ready no matter where you're at or what you're doing is important. So, 'cause yeah, you may not always have time to run from the living room to the bedroom to grab a gun, because by the time you get back, whatever damage they were wanting to do, they could have inflicted by then. So, yep, that's all I got. On to Dad.
Well, Joe, you're hitting the nail on the head. If you've ever been in a true home defense or invasion situation, split seconds matter. In fact, my handguns that I keep for that purpose do not have a holster, because you don't have time for 2 hands to get that gun out of a holster. If you're under attack, you may be using one to defend yourself, another to be reaching for your gun, whatever it is. So they actually, I don't keep them in holsters. Split seconds matter. Also, I keep guns in every room because you don't have time to go to the next room, up or downstairs or wherever, to get guns. And so I do keep a variety of guns around, but there's some consistency in what I keep around. But I'm going to back up a minute. Where I live is probably different than a lot of people, because I'm out in the country, running horses, cattle, whatever else, and have dogs. They'd probably have a difficult time getting past the dogs, but they would. Easy enough to kill a dog or whatever, but that would probably be enough to waken me up, or at least alert me that something's wrong. And so I'm not as concerned where I live about a massive big home invasion, although it could happen. We live in changing times, and even though we're in Idaho, peaceful community, quiet, it can change overnight. It really can, or in a split second. So a lot of the guns I use on a daily basis, just outside messing around, whatever I'm doing, I use a lot of traditional guns. In that case, the most common gun I carry on my hip is still a Colt single action Army 45, particularly when riding a horse or four-wheeler or whatever. But when I'm in and out of a vehicle a lot, I'd like this rig from El Paso. Again, that's a Colt single action. Very handy unit, slip on and off easily, out of the way. These guns, of course, single actions are not the best for home defense, but the guy that uses one and knows how to use it, he's a well-armed man. But I hang those actually in my office on the safe door, and so that they're always in reach. But I also have in reach a variety of other guns. One of the most common that I keep in common reach in every room, literally including the bathroom, is a Glock 22. Again, this is not an everyday carry gun. It's a little large for that, but with a standard capacity, which we know what that is, and the power of the 40 caliber, it's a pretty decisive gun. And yet I personally shoot them quite well. They're not my favorite if I were hunting or whatever, but just a few weeks ago I was coming between my two places from town, just checking cattle. Coyote run across the field. I stepped out, had a Glock 22 in the car, whistled, and at literally 100 yards, pulled down, just dropped him right there. So the Glock is a pretty capable gun, but I keep a variety of these stashed around the house. Another gun that, if you're gonna laugh at me, I'm kind of a big fan of the Model 36 Smith & Wesson. The variations of the J-frame, I should say. This one's, of course, got the hammer system set up, snag free and so forth. They're never a primary weapon for me, but these are a fantastic backup gun. If you had somebody strange come into the yard and you have to go out and confront them, slipping one of these in your pocket along with a primary gun, it could prove to save your life. So I actually keep a number of those stashed around. Another great gun that is always, again, stashed around, readily available, is a Smith Model 625. This one has the underlug barrel. It's 45 ACP. Of course, moon clips for a speed load situation. This gun's, of course, got custom sights and a very, very highly tuned action job. Jerry Mikulik style stocks on or grips. Decisive, reliable gun. And another Smith end frame that I use a lot of is, or that I keep for that purpose, is it's a Model 627, 8-round capacity, I say 627, yeah, stainless steel 627, 8-round capacity, 357, wearing Harriet stocks on it, the Roper style. Very good, reliable gun. I keep a 158 Spear Gold Dot in that. And another gun that I almost feel if I would betray it if I didn't mention it, and that's the 4-inch Smith Model 29. This particular gun I've had since the 70s. I've rebuilt it 2 or 3 times. The last time it sheared the pins off that the hammer and the trigger rotate off. That's how much it's been shot. Set the barrel back a couple of times, but it's still working. It's a jewel. I've taken a variety of game: black bear, mule deer, moose, even with it, elk. It's just been an extremely reliable gun, and I've got a ton of confidence in the 44 mag cartridge. There's some situations when power really does matter. I do tend to favor traditional guns from that standpoint, but the Glock's not traditional, but it's very simple. Whatever you choose, it's important you learn a couple of things. One, that you can run that gun without looking at it and without thinking about it. If you have to take your eyes off your target, or somebody breaking into, I got to do this for this gun, you're probably going to die. So,
said bluntly, but truly.
Yes. And my old friend Bill Jordan, the famous border patrolman, he was a fantastic shot, great gentleman, incredibly fast with a 6 gun. Could draw his Smith & Wesson Model 19 357 in a quarter second and make a hit from the hip. He was the real deal. I knew Bill quite well. He was 6'6" and had mitts for hands. Had a ton of experience as in combat in World War II. He also was, of course, a Border Patrol agent where he saw a lot of action. Southern gentlemen, they say they don't talk about that a lot, although I did have some glimpses into that. He, for a long gun, in close quarters, always preferred, in spite of great pumps and autoloaders being out there during his lifetime, he still preferred a side-by-side double. The reliability factor, the intimidation factor, and I keep this gun on my rack in my office because sometimes you have pests or varmints or whatever show up where shotgun's the appropriate gun, and yet I also keep double-aught buckloads right there ready to go. This particular one's an Ithic SKB, lightweight, fast handling, not terribly expensive. If somebody broke in and stole it, I've got much higher end double shotguns, but that's something to think about. Again, I keep a variety of guns in each room according to what I'm doing. This little gun is kind of a jewel. It's I've got a number of Marlin 357s. This is a model 1894 357, and the loads I use will push a 158 grain gold dot right at 2,000 feet per second. And I can tell you, on game, shooting deer and other things with them, the devastation that load causes is incredible. And yet the recoil and handiness of the gun is also incredible because the recoil is very manageable, very minimal muzzle report or muzzle flash, which in a low lit room is important. Of course, the powders I use are flash suppressed for that purpose. But again, it's a very devastating stopping round, and a woman, younger people, younger shooters, smaller shooters can handle these with ease. So that's something that just kind of hangs over the doorway in some of my rooms. One last one I will mention is, of course, a Ruger Mini 14. Porter kind of covered that quick. The advantage of that gun is there's a lot of advantages with this particular gun. This one's got the shorter barrel than Porter's, a little faster handling in a house. I keep it loaded generally with the 55 nozzle ballistic tip or the 60 grain Hornady SP bullet, which those we kind of test our 223 bullets on deer. We'll go out and hunt and shoot and kind of evaluate the wound channels and so on. And boy, there's some really good bullets out there. The nozzle partition, the 60 grain's really good. So is the 53 grain Barnes X. But again, this gun, you know, it's got standard magazine capacity. It'd be kind of a tough little gun to beat in close quarters combat. Guns I didn't bring tonight that are kind of worthy of mention is bolt guns. We've actually had wolves at our place. Of course, we've shot a lot of coyotes that kill calves. I keep bolt guns for that purpose, scoped up bolt guns that let you reach out a long ways, that are always readily available. So I'm kind of prepared for almost any situation that might occur. But again, the real key is know your gun, know your ammunition, test it in advance, make sure everything is working. In my vast experience of shooting a variety of guns, sometimes you can have a really good gun and really good ammunition, but the combination doesn't work well. So make sure that it works good in your gun. Once in a while, it raises its head where ammo and a gun that are both in total spec by industry standards just don't like each other and they don't run. So, you know, test the gun with the ammo that you're going to be using as defense, and develop your skills. Just because you have the gun and ammo doesn't mean you've got the skills to use it. So develop your skills, work on it, get prepared mentally. There's some great trainers out there that can help with firearms training if you're a beginner. Probably the best money you'll spend is to do that. So those are my thoughts. We barely scratched the surface, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah. On the training note, you know, and I do your research about where you're going to do some training at, because not all firearms instructors are created equal. That's
true.
For sure. So, so do some research, you know, and get in with a good class somewhere. There's lots of them out there, but, you know, do your research and find one. So,
another point on that is, let's say all you've got is like an old Sharps rifle or an old bolt action rifle or something. There's some of these classes and instructors, like I know Thunder Ranch, they do all types of classes that cover old stuff from like M1 Grands and M1 carbines to bolt action rifles. So if that's all you got, there is instruction you can get to use some of the older stuff. You know, even does stuff with Sharps carbines and Sharps rifles, you know. So,
yeah.
And if that's all you got, rifle-wise or firearms-wise, learn how to use it, you know, and learn its advantages and disadvantages, and learn how to be deadly in a fight with it. So,
yeah. Any other points?
I think we covered it all. So.
I think that about wraps this episode up.
Yeah.
So for future episodes, if there's something you want to see us do, throw a comment down below. We're always looking for more ideas and topics for discussion that you guys would like to hear and see. Keep your eyes out for a zombie shoot with our home defense guns coming up. That'll be in the next, I say near future, because we're trying to figure out how to do that with actually constructing some kind of a house scenario where we can shoot and use, and we're working through some of the details there. So that'll be coming in the near future. So stay tuned for that.
At some point in time, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a campfire topic. If there's a gun you want to see us review, or a load or something along those lines, you know, throw it in the comments and we'll do our best to get to them. We've got a lot planned for the future, so stay tuned for that. But thank you for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time
On the Pierce Brothers.